moving on to Dr. Saadia Afzaal, we see these days all Muslim countries in one way or another are heavily dependent on external sources, on Western global powers, especially if we talk about the US, which is an ally of Israel. Either it's technical support, it's financial support, or any other. Their dependence is there. So how can these Muslim countries diversify their partnership to be in a better position, in a better bargaining power, or maybe just to decrease this dependency which they have on these Western powers?
Thank you very much. Actually, this is the dilemma that you are pointing out and you are discussing about. I would first like to add into your first question that the scenario has there is a lot of change in the scenario, as in you're right that Israel is controlling the US policy towards the Middle East, but we also have to see that there is a kind of rift between Netanyahu and Joe Biden regarding the Israel's atrocities in the Middle Eastern region towards Palestine, especially and particularly when they attacked the Iranian consulate in Damascus. So that put pressure on the US, and their public opinion is also against them. So that put pressure on the Joe Biden. So there is underlying rift that we must take into the consideration.
I understand this part, putting a pressure on the US or on their president, but does it put pressure on Israel? So obviously you and I, we both have seen the answer is no, because Israel thinks it can go scot-free, whatever it does, it's not answerable.
But that signifies the failure of the policy of the US and the Israel also. So we must take that into the consideration also. Now moving forward towards your question about the role of external powers in the Middle East and how to diversify the Muslim countries. We have seen now the Chinese role in the mediation process, particularly the recent Beijing declaration, where they have arranged a meeting and kind of create a consensus among the different factions which have disagreement over the political solution of the Palestinian issue. We have also seen that the Russians, they are also inclining towards the Iranians, and Iranians also are very much inclined towards the Russia. So in this way we can see that there is the diversification, and there is a lot more trust towards the Chinese, because Chinese believe in peaceful coexistence, and their policies depends upon integration, non-interference, and they don't want to have the military bases. Although we see the Russian military bases in the Syria after the Syrian war, but the Chinese, they have different policy orientation towards the Middle East. So the countries, they look towards China's role in the Middle Eastern region. Now we also have seen the 10th ministerial meeting of the Arab forum that China has created, in which they have invited many Arab states. But we also need to not forget one thing, that although the states have weakened, like Iraq and Egypt, where they can pose threat to the Israel, but we should not underestimate the role of the proxies that is called the axis of resistance. For example, Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas. Now they are more aligned with the Iranians, and Iranians are trying to and the Arab states, and particularly Iranians, they are trying to accomplish their objectives through the role of proxies. So there is a more win-win situation for the Arabs without actually directly involving into the conflict. They are trying to achieve, or they are achieving their objectives through the role of proxies.
Right.